Hey everyone, and welcome to the Perfect Bite podcast, your fusion of food and entrepreneurship. You'll hear stories from chefs, restaurateurs, CPG brands, and more from the food and bev industry. All of them are at different points in their journeys, talking about their experiences and how they've cooked up something new. Let's dig in. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Perfect Bite podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Perkins. One of the best things about food is how we can traverse continents in a single bite, opening ourselves up to new cultures, backgrounds, and food folks like ourselves all over. Even better, when you can actually connect with someone in another part of the world, learning how they're changing the food and bev industry in their country and beyond for the better. I can't wait for you to go on a journey with our guest today to Latin America. Please welcome Xavier Rocabado, CEO of Bairu. Hi, Xavier.
Hey, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here.
I'm so excited to see you. So for the folks listening in, where are you in the world?
Well, right now, I'm in La Paz, Bolivia, right in the center of South America. Lovely country. Very glad to be here.
I have to come visit someday. I know that folks are, they're not huge fans of jumping on video calls that much anymore since we've had COVID. But I have to say, especially when we're talking to each other thousands of miles away, it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, I can totally get it. I'm used to it by now, but yeah, I'm very, very glad to be here.
Amazing. So let's just dive right on in and dig into food and tech and how you're bringing it all together in LATAM and beyond. Talk to me about when you first fell in love with food. What were your favorite foods as a kid?
Sure. Well, I was that kid that didn't like to taste anything like regarding vegetables or like exotic fruits. I was very used to like noodles and nuggets and stuff like that. But then I moved to Mexico for my bachelor degree, and that's where I really had to basically try as much food as I can, right? Like live the whole experience, and that's when I become a foodie completely. Mexican food is great. I know you guys in the US are very familiar with Mexican food, but it's not the tip of the iceberg of the whole world of cuisine that you can find in Latin America. There's really so much that we can offer. And yeah, now I consider myself like an amateur chef, but I can only cook like 3 dishes, but there are like very good dishes, I have to say.
Okay. Well, tell me what they are.
Sure. So the first one is like a steak cooked in a pan, but I can make it so that it tastes like it was made in a barbecue with basically like with a homemade sauce with garlic. And
like a chimichurri?
Exactly. Yeah. With my own homemade chimichurri. That's like my steak whole dish. And then also like Argentinian milanesas. I don't know if you've ever had them, but it's basically grilled chicken with stuff on top. Very good, very, very tasty. Very also not everyday kind of food because it's heavy, right? So I like to cook it for in special occasions for my family and friends. I don't really enjoy cooking just for my own, but whenever you came by or if I ever come there, I have to cook for you. You'll be amazed.
100%. You see the kitchen I'm in here right now. It's waiting.
Awesome.
I need someone
Perfect.
to make a beautiful Milanese.
Trade.
Do you have a big family that you cook for?
No, not really. We are 5. I have 2 young sisters that they're everything for me and my 2 dads. But I have a very big group of friends that we usually get together, do a barbecue, grill, and just party and hang out.
I love that. And food's always at the center of it.
Absolutely.
So talk to us a little bit more about your time in Mexico. You were there for school. How did it lead to you deciding that you wanted to go into the tech industry?
Yeah, I mean, it was the first step for me going into the startup world. I went there for studying business informatics at Tecnológico de Monterrey. So I used to live very close to the border with the US. Just imagine the most desert thing ever with big hats, big shoes, big boots, and a lot of grill, a lot of barbecues, a lot of beer as well. But I had a lovely time there. During my studies, I've always been an entrepreneur, so I started kind of a bootcamp company. We were the first one to teach data science before it was like some popular buzzword. So we were kind of the new pioneers in that regard. I used to learn Python like by night, and the next morning I was teaching whatever I learned. So I don't know if that's best practice, but that's how I learned how to code. And we did pretty well. And that's when I realized that like my thing is really technology, but mixed with businesses and entrepreneurship. And then that's how everything began. After that, I founded the Data Science Club at Tech, which is the biggest and largest and fastest growing data communities in Mexico. And that opened me the doors for meeting folks with top companies at like AWS, Microsoft, Meta, companies dedicated to different industry like airplane companies, banks, other startups, and also consulting firms, very big consulting firms. And after that, I joined my first official job, which was being the data analyst at a Y Combinator-backed fintech in Mexico as well. And yeah, that's what really drove me to the next level of, I would say, my abilities. I started leading the data team, and I was there for 2 years, had a great run. The startup is great. The startup is doing great now as well, so that's very good. But yeah, then I decided to have my own startup.
Talk to us about that process. So for the folks listening in, we might have some startup heads. We've also got folks who just love the food and bev industry. So Y Combinator, for folks who don't know, is an early stage accelerator for small and growing companies out of Silicon Valley. We'll talk about the other amazing accelerator that you ended up doing in the US to really rocket Bairu and get it going here. When you were on that team, you were leading a data team, things were going really well. What was really that aha moment for you that made you say, I have to go do something on my own, and specifically something in food and hospitality combined with tech?
So it was a mix of different characteristics of things happening in my life, some more personal, some more career-driven. I was living in Buenos Aires for those 2 years I was working at that Y Combinator startup. So that also was a whole different experience. Then I reached to the point that I wanted to really like build something on my own. And that's when Jose, the founder and the current CTO of Bairu, talked to me. And well, we actually met in school when we were like 10 years old. We used to go swimming. And after school, we were the only one in our grades working in the startups. He was working in another Techstars back the startup. So we kept in touch. And when he talked to me, he asked me to join. I was very keen to working with Jose. And at the moment, it didn't matter for me, the idea or the industry. This was my first ever like touch point with the food tech industry. But I was more keen to working with Jose and his brother because they have a very good, like just general job attitude and discipline. And that's something I really value in the team I'll be part of, right? But when he talked to me about the idea, it was a mess at the very beginning. Yeah, we were doing self-service digital kiosks. So basically, just imagine the McDonald's self-service screens and trim that down to fit both the budget and the specific needs for more local businesses and local franchises here in Latin America. That was the whole point. But as you may understand, being like a very early stage startup with not that many funds, it was kind of hard to work around the hardware issue, either selling or buying. It was a mess.
Let's definitely dig into that a little bit more coming up here. So I love that you have such a strong relationship with your co-founder. I think whatever type of business that you're building, that is one of the things that helps you. This is going to be a bad joke based on the fact that you guys used to go to the pool together. You're going to have to sink or swim together.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're going swimmingly. So thanks for my dad joke here today. Oh, let's take it back even further here. So Jose came to you with this idea. Thank you, Jose, for coming up with this. As your CTO, you are CEO. You know, when he first presented this to you, why did you both say, yes, we need to work on Bairu out of anything? Tell us what the full concept is and what made you all really recognize this need and get started on it?
Yeah, I actually love how Jose started this because he developed this solution for his very own restaurant. So Jose and his brother Hector, they both created these small, like stop wings kind of restaurants with their very own savings. And at the very beginning, you don't have enough money to hire that staff. And there's so many things to do. You run out of hands very easily and very quickly. So Jose being a developer and me as well, coming from a tech background, we quickly realized how we can leverage technology in almost any step of the starting process, of the starting journey. And we started trying to replace the cashier figure, right, with this self-service digital kiosk, which essentially was a Samsung tablet with a POS data phone attached. Very rudimentary. That was our MVP, and it was for these guys' restaurants, right? So it was a very first-hand kind of experience, trying to solve the issue, trying to build something that actually works. It was a learning journey all by itself, but it really opened our eyes into the whole food tech space, the whole POS space, and also like just in general, trying to learn as much as possible from all of our customers. Back in the day, this was last year, right? But like from our very early adopters, how they were running their processes, how we can help them. And also during that process, we were learning how to manage this restaurant even better, right? So it was kind of a whole momentum going on. And we really validated the opportunity when we launched a couple of TikToks. And the first ones went super viral. They were received like 150K views, something like that. And at the moment, we didn't know how to capitalize this kind of massive reach, but it was very interesting to see like such a good reception with something that we built basically from nothing in a very short amount of time.
100%. So talk to us about those viral moments on TikTok. What were the videos like? You know, what were you all portraying? And what's the feedback that you were hearing from chefs and restaurants about why they needed your platform and services?
For sure. This is so fun. So the first TikToks were literally like us trying to present both the restaurant and the digital kiosk and showcasing how you can take your order from there. For us, it made a lot of sense. We were the first one ever to do this in our country. So it was kind of a hit or miss like response from our audience, from especially like casual viewers, casual TikTok users. They were like, this is so dumb. Like, why can't you just go and ask your cashier to order? Like, it takes less time. So we got a little bit of bully at the beginning, but it really was so fun because on the other hand, the business owners and the restaurant owners were like, hey, I need this. Like, give me a couple of tablets as fast as possible because I really want to implement this. I think this is great. So it was kind of a mixed reception, which is so funny. I actually love it. We have a saying here, and I know that this saying is very common around different countries in Latin America. But for us in the Bolivian ecosystem, we have a saying which is not that great of a saying. That is, the biggest hater of a Bolivian is another Bolivian. So we actually experienced that, but that builds character as well. So we're very happy to have survived that.
That is so funny. And that's a good lesson for everyone, which is we all tend to do that, right? We always say, we look at something that we've never done. We've looked at something on the internet and say, or we're watching our reality shows and we're like, I can't believe you would do it that way. I would totally have done it a different way. And we have no skill set whatsoever to do it. So I appreciate that you took those moments in stride because it was great, just feedback overall. It made you hear, okay, what do people actually want and need on one side of things, the customer of the restaurant? And then you've got the restaurant saying, we're tired of using paper and pencil. We need to scale. We can't handle all of these customers at once. So talk to us about the next steps from there. How did you start to cultivate relationships with these restaurants so that you could start to get the tablets in their hands? And you mentioned the tablets ended up being a disaster. So talk to us about those learnings as well.
For sure. So both technical co-founders, right? However, I'm the least technical of the two So I ended up doing the whole business operations, selling, marketing, just cultivating relationship, etc. And this is a learning process for me. Never done something quite like this. So it was very hard at the beginning, but we didn't have like a script or a very clear guide on how to get as many customers as possible. We just had the sheer will to do it and the sheer discipline to call 30 to 50 restaurants a day and go ask and knock doors. And that's when we started to look how remotely grow, we realized that hardware is not the solution at the moment for the market we're trying to target. So just in general, handling hardware is hard, right? And we're both very good at software development. So we started to pivot and we ended up on what we are doing right now, which is basically an online store powered by WhatsApp for restaurants in Latin America, which again wouldn't have happened if we didn't have that much like relationship and feedback from our customers that were using the digital kiosk. On the look for solving even more of their issues, we ended up learning a ton about Latin American market and the close relationship between business, users, and having WhatsApp just in the middle. In Latin America, everything happens on WhatsApp. I know that's quite different in the US, but here is a reality. So I have some fun facts for you, which are actually part of our stats that drove us to this pivot, which is 400 million people in Latin America use WhatsApp daily. So everything, again, yeah, everything happens on WhatsApp. Basically, everyone uses WhatsApp, and also businesses, right? They do it not just for selling and direct communication, but the marketing and growing a community of followers or customers, influencers as well. So it's very interesting how there are very specific use cases around WhatsApp in Latin America. And the restaurant industry, of course, it's a major player in this equation, right? 80% of all the orders that are not taken inside a restaurant are still coming through phone calls or WhatsApp messages. So just to quantify, like just 20% of those online orders are made through like marketplaces or through delivery apps.
Wow.
Direct communication is very strong still.
Talk to us more about that. So I think listeners listening in here might say, WhatsApp? I mean, I use that when I travel and you're talking to folks, say, not on your same cellular plan and in different countries. So how can WhatsApp help market? How are folks taking orders through it? Are you just sending a message saying, hi, I'd like to order all of these things off your menu? Where can people even see that?
Essentially, yes. I mean, most of the restaurants have their WhatsApp as their primary call to action in their social media accounts, in their Google Maps. If they even have a landing page, most likely is going to redirect them to their WhatsApp account. But then you face another issue, which is handling WhatsApp as basically a CRM. Imagine just handling 50 different orders to different like places in town that are constantly changing and like adding stuff to the cart. And you usually have the same cashier that is handling all the in-place orders, doing that as well at the same time. In some cases, there is one specific job role for just taking online orders, not only like delivery apps, but also and primarily WhatsApp. And I think it's a very interesting evolution. In the past few years, this has just increased. It hasn't decreased. And also like omni-channel communication in general. A lot of restaurants are starting to receive your orders through your Instagram messages, through your TikTok messages. Not everyone, but some of them are starting to trying to cover that omni-channel aspects of communication. But it's just a headache, right? And you can imagine it's not the best way of doing business. It's the way that is currently done right now. But we in Bairu, we believe that you can do that just a tiny bit better, and also during the process help you increase your average order size and the volume of orders. And that's part of our goal. We actually want to move all the restaurants that we can online in a way that it makes sense for the Latin American market.
Wow. So with that, what have you been building and deploying to make this a lot easier? Because like you said, we have so many channels out here right now to be able to connect with businesses. And, if they don't have a single spot where they can see all of these orders and other inquiries coming in, how are you helping to make sure that they're keeping really organized here?
Yeah, sure. So we're making WhatsApp the most efficient sales channel for restaurants possible. Ours is a complete solution. Even though we are in a very early stage, we cover a lot of what is needed to be covered to actually tailor the needs to our customers. So direct communication and automated marketing and also notifications happen directly through WhatsApp. We basically take over your communications and redirect all your incoming conversations to your own online store. In there, the way it's designed, it of course helps you increase your average order size, but also we take care of all the details that are so rudimentary asked nowadays in the Latin American market, like where you at, how you want to pay, etc., right? So we also take over your collection process. We just launched our integration with Mercado Pago, which is a major payment solution here in the region, but we're working on doing a ton more. We will have Stripe as well by the end of the week, so that's very exciting as well.
Also, huge piece of news.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations. Stripe is huge.
It's not a partnership yet. It's just we're integrated to our solution. However, we do see it as a major value proposition, just to handling everything in a much easier way for restaurants. And then the final aspect and what makes Bairu a one-stop solution, it's we also can take over your general operations processes, inventory, sales analytics, your CRM. It's basically an end-to-end solution, ideally. And this is specifically tailored for independent restaurants in Latin America, independent and also like chain restaurants, but that are in Latin America, because we have that customer experience very present on our everyday, from design, from how fast the applications need to be, how easy it needs to be. Like everyone should be able to use it. And we are seeing very great reception from both our customers and their customers. So that's what we're doing right now. We are working with restaurants in 3 countries in Latin America right now, in Mexico, Ecuador, and of course, Bolivia. But we're also working with some catering companies and this was very interesting use cases that we discovered, like catering companies need to have that top-notch experience for their customers since the get-go, basically, from the very start, right? So having a good online presence with, as I mentioned, like a whole lot of functionalities attached, not just a landing page with cool pictures, but actually like a good online presence is impacting a lot of catering companies right now.
This is incredible. I mean, you launched this, you said a year ago, and you're in 3 other countries already?
Yes, that's right.
Wow. So can you talk to us about how many customers you have right now, or how your user growth has been going? Because like you said, ultimately, just in Latin America alone, you have access to 400 million people on WhatsApp where your Bairu is going to be residing.
Exactly. So we're very keen on trying different things. At the moment, we have been improving just our general sales conversion and like sales pitch and sales process for direct sales. And that has been improving a lot. Like in February, we've basically tripled the amount of customer we used to have. And also considering that we launched the e-commerce solution on December, we are seeing a very good pattern here. But we are not just going to stick with that. Part of our job here is to make an end-to-end solution, and we can build all of the technology ourselves. So we actually partner with the biggest fintech in Bolivia, which is Linkser. They provide basically a payment solution for cards and QR code payments, which are very popular here in Bolivia. So the idea is to leverage that and several others that I can't quite mention just yet as potential channel partners for just growing faster. Yeah.
This is going to be huge. I'm so excited for you. And
Thank
it
you.
sounds like this is truly just the beginning of your rocket ship journey. So part of that journey was that you were in the US the other year. You were in the Midwest. You were in good old Minneapolis.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, a couple states away from where I am right now, and you were accepted into the Techstars Future of Food program the other year. Talk to us about that process and really the biggest differences that you saw in terms of how the US and Latin America are handling these similar issues in hospitality.
Absolutely. Yeah. So getting into Techstars was for sure our biggest milestone at the moment. And I think part of it, it validates what we are trying to build here. And we're very thankful for the Techstars team to actually believe in us. We actually started talking with them in January, with Arthur parents specifically, as we were still working with digital self-service solutions. But the whole idea was to basically how we can take over Latin America, and that's our evil plan, right? That's how we can basically leverage this digital land grab and enable growth for our customers in the process. Getting into Techstars was huge for us specifically because we're the first ever Bolivian startup to go into the program, the second ever to be part of Techstars. And this is a good like morality boost, but it also means a lot in terms of responsibility. During the program, we were able to connect with a bunch of different and very top level executive in different brands and companies in the food tech space, but also with potential investors and angels that are right now still helping us and advisors as well. During the process, just to kind of resume what the Techstars experience is all about, it essentially goes and throws you into a pool of brilliant minds that you have 20 minutes to talk with each one, encompassing a total of 97 in our case, during the period of 3 weeks. Yeah, so it was very hard. It was so crazy because still, like, you just have 20 minutes. You need to do your homework first in order to go into the meetings and know what actually you should be talking about. You don't have the time to like wander around, right? And after the program, after those 3 weeks, you basically start executing, and that's when we ended up pivoting into this e-commerce solution for restaurants.
So when you were talking to, 97 mentors, when they're in that process, you've got brilliant minds, like you said, in front of you, along with your own, and you're just trying to learn as quickly as you can with the limited time that you've got from someone. What was the type of feedback that you were hearing from folks in the US and how they're approaching hospitality and the food tech scene that you're able to then take back to LATAM?
Sure. So that's a very great question, actually. How the restaurant industry works in Latin America is so much different than how it actually runs in the US. Not only the technology adoption is way different, there's also very key cultural differences for both operating a restaurant, but for being like an end customer of a restaurant. Part of the feedback we were getting from a lot of these mentors were actually worried about our growth, how we can grow faster, which is totally valid and actually a huge part of why we ended up pivoting into a more kind of lean solution. But also it was very interesting when we were talking with people that are familiar with the Latin American food tech or just restaurant space, even if they just came down here for vacations purposes, but they understand the industry, they really see the value of what we're trying to build here. You don't need just like a POS solution and that's it, right? There's so many different key aspects. I think communication and having that level of like direct connection from your customer with the restaurant manager, operator, cashier, whoever, right? I think it's very important, and it's going to shape how technology is built for this space in this industry in Latin America for 100%. In the US, something that I personally admire is your dedication to doing everything as lean and efficient as possible. But sometimes during that process, you may lose touch with the humanity aspect. And that's something that if you forget in Latin America, you might not have the best result.
I think that's such an important point you just made. Two of them, actually. When you're traveling, all you want to do is be able to connect with others in a way that also doesn't make you feel awkward or like you're stepping on someone's toes or that you're just standing out as a pure tourist. So if you told me, yes, Sarah, your Spanish that you do remember, which is rudimentary, you'll be okay when you're coming to Bolivia and ordering food and say, connecting with someone about the food allergies that I have
Right.
because of your product and just making things easier to connect with people and understand each other. And what you just said is probably the most important piece as we're talking about hospitality and tech going forward, which is never losing that sense of humanity. Hospitality and food, especially, it's about bringing people together. It's about caring for each other and having that sense of service. And so, through your tech, how do you think you are keeping up that sense of humanity for the folks that use your product?
Yeah, well, initially we want to manage direct relationship in the most humane possible. We do have some chatbots as layers of our technology, the way they are designed, the conversation as human as possible. We don't want to just automate the whole process. It's not part of what we want to do, but also very easy to just recognize your customers as you usually do when you are running yourself, your restaurant. You know the familiar faces, you know who is coming to your business like 3 times a week and who is ordering like what kind of dish. So that's very embedded into our technology in a very easy way as well. That's how automated marketing actually works. It essentially works very similar to most of, like, let's say, POS providers in the US. However, the way we are managing personalization, I think it's part of our secret recipe. That's why I would love for all of you listeners out there to jump on Bairu.io and just check it for yourself so you can get it a little bit better and understand it again a little bit better. But yeah, I think just not losing touch of reality is very important. Working with restaurants on a daily basis, we do get invited a lot to cookouts and dinners and lunches, which is an excellent part of the experience to actually learn how these businesses operate in the real life. And translating that and their personality into the way they cater their customers online, it's part of what we want to achieve.
That's perfect because, yes, technology and AI and chatbots, they're helpful, but if you don't have a human monitoring them or on the other side to help you, if for some reason that goes wrong, then they almost lose that purpose. And it's really cool that you've been able to make friends then with the chefs and restaurants who you're working with and say, okay, I understand your unique sense of hospitality that you're bringing to the table. What do you think have been the biggest challenges for you all as you're building the product and as you're figuring out how to reach more people with it?
Yeah, I think our biggest challenge at the moment, like how can we reach more people at the same time? Ideally, we're scaling down our functionalities, which might sound a little bit contradictory, but we want to have a very self-service kind of onboarding process for our restaurants, for our customers. Something very easy to just set up, launch, and see the results firsthand from the get-go. Part of that is what we have accomplished so far, like the whole setup, besides the menu configuration, because that may take a little bit depending on how big your menu is. But then everything else, like WhatsApp payments, it's so easy. I can't brag this enough. I know we're on an early stage, but I think we've been very smart on how we're doing. Like for your WhatsApp communication, you just need to scan, like if you were initiating like a WhatsApp web session, and that's it. So it literally takes you like 10 seconds. And for payment solution as well, we are doing everything as easy as possible because we see ourselves as a tech partner for our customers, not much like a tech provider. And I think there's a huge difference there, right? But the challenge so far is how we can reach more people at the same time. Whenever we talk with a new lead, I would say 95% of the response are very positive. The deal is just how I can make them to use the platform a bit more every day.
That's amazing. What are some of those hard moments that you all have overcome that have really shaped the growth that you're having today to get to the 95% positive feedback?
100%, it was a mix of just trying to leave the self-service kiosk solution aside and focusing 100% on what we really see value, and actually we see it as a growth opportunity using product-led growth strategies. But that kind of feeling from starting from zero can be a bit overwhelming at the beginning, especially having limited resources, a small team, and a lot of things to do. I'm personally very thankful for the amazing thing we have here at Bairu. We are right now 9 people, and all of them are carrying not only their own weight, but like 3 times their weight. So they're very, very good and hardworking people. And talent that we have in-house as well is top-notch, I must say. So we've been able to build so many things in so short period of time that it honestly amazes me. But yeah, we are very keen on Latin America. We are not going to abandon our market, right? I know, like, we personally experience how hard it might be to sell technology in Latin America. You sometimes don't sell technology, you sometimes have to preach technology, but someone has to do it. And part of our goal is to be the go-to solution for everything restaurant. And if that means that it's a hard and long way, we're more than willing to take it.
I think part of your secret sauce too is just your positive outlook. You've got a great team, but like you said, there are going to be challenges along the way. There are going to be times you got to pivot like you all had to. And it's about taking it in stride. And like you said, you're here to serve your market at the end of the day. And I can't wait to see this roll out in other markets. You mentioned to me that India is also a huge potential for you all as well because of their WhatsApp usage.
Yeah, absolutely. LATAM is our starting point. It's a huge goal to just go after LATAM. But WhatsApp usage and just in general direct communication, it's very prevalent and important in emerging markets and emerging communities. So keeping that aspect, like just understanding how our customers operate and finding them where they are at.
Yes. And that might be WhatsApp. It might be who knows what's coming in the future. So I like that you're prepared to go wherever the folks are, wherever the customers are. So before we get to the world's best and hardest question, talk to us about any advice you'd want to give someone who's looking to start their own business, whether it's food tech or beyond. What are some of the gems that you've learned over these last few years getting started?
For sure. So the food tech industry for me was completely new 1 year ago, but I completely fall in love with everything that it has to offer. And I think that's a very important aspect of just entrepreneurship in general. You want to be in love of not your solution, but like with the industry and the problem you're trying to solve. And I know this is very cliche, but it's very true. If the industry that you're working on doesn't fill you with passion, it's not going to help you survive those hard days that are coming. Everyone has difficult days, both good and bad, right? But having that passion for what you're building, it's very important to get over those hard seasons. And yeah, just in general, go out there, build and start selling from the get-go. I would have to learn how to sell a bit early on my stage, on my career, and also on Bairu's history. But yeah, don't be afraid to go and knock some doors and get rejected. It's part of the journey, but it's the way to do it.
Amen. You got to put yourself out there or else the answer is always going to be no. Alrighty. So this podcast is called The Perfect Bite, not only because it's a bit of a perfect bite of my career today, working as a founder myself and then getting into the food space, working with founders, but it's also the fact that all of us have a perfect bite, a moment from childhood, maybe a meal you had on a beautiful vacation, or just a meal you had where you felt so special and it was so delicious you'll never forget it. So we ask this question each podcast. Javier, what is your perfect bite?
Perfect. So my perfect bite was during the first week in Minneapolis. After being accepted into Techstars, I told Jose that I was not going to be at ease and I wasn't going to celebrate this news until we are there in Minneapolis, ready to kickstart the program. So we got together a couple of friends at the city, and I actually cooked some steak. Well, my first time cooking steak at a gas-based grill. I usually go for coal, but it was good. And I made my classic chimichurri as well. And during that just gathering of friends, I really feel, and this is very personal, like it truly felt like the first day of the rest of my life, or saying in some way.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. It just,
Thank you.
everyone almost makes me cry every time they tell me their perfect bite, because it is so personal and unique to you. And I feel like I'm there at the barbecue and you're looking out at, yes, a small Midwestern city, but you're recognizing that this is one of those pivotal moments in your life, and you've got this gorgeous steak and chimichurri to go along with it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That was so sweet. All right, Javier, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Can you let our listeners know where to find you in terms of the website, any social accounts, any spots where we should be following along on your journey?
Sure. Well, first of all, check the website. Would love some feedback as usual. Bairu.io. That's our landing page. If you want to reach me personally, my email is Javier, spelled Prof. Xavier from the X-Men with an X. So Xavier at Bairu.io. And yeah, just in general, LinkedIn, you can find me as Javier Rocabado. And yeah, I'm very easy to find.
Amazing. Well, I'll make sure to get all of that in the show notes so folks can find you. I love that you just brought in Professor X here. Amazing. And that's going to be my nickname for you going forward. Thanks again for joining us, Javier.
Thank you, Sarah.
I can't wait for us to meet in person one day. Everyone, thanks again for tuning in. And this was Javier Rocabado's Perfect Bite. Thanks for tuning in to The Perfect Bite today. You can listen to future episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Thanks in advance for subscribing, rating, and reviewing. You can follow The Perfect Bite on social media at Perfect Bite Pod. Now go get something good to eat.